Welcome back, everybody, to the Raised Rowdy podcast. My name is Colby Acuff. I'm hosting this event today. It's called the Takeover.
Whoa.
Just kidding. I just really hopped in there.
Well, I'm Nick, though.
I'm Kurt. We're back. We're going to wrap this pod up with a second portion.
Yeah. So we got a lot of the album-y stuff out of the way. But as I said on the first pod, and as I talked about after our first pod, the after podcast was almost like cooler.
Yeah, it's called The Hang.
Yeah.
Part 2, The Hang.
Yeah. So, I mean, this won't be like a full hang because we're definitely not going to do anything that gets anybody canceled. But, yeah.
I got nothing to hide.
Yeah. But what I'd really like to do is just kind of like talk more about like the world. And I'm sure that'll lead back to the music and stuff as well.
Right.
But, you know, we talked about this and I thought it was a really cool idea. So thanks for doing this with us.
Yeah, I feel really good. I have a couple enchiladas in me.
Yeah.
And had a little burrito, which is amazing. And I'm ready to go.
Lunch sponsored by Colby's credit card. Thank you,
Colby.
Let's go. Recoupable funds.
It's all recoupable.
I wonder if Bobby Bones buys people lunch. That's like probably not, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it's catered.
Bobby Bones has to have so much money, though.
More than us, for sure.
Yeah. Maybe not
Not for
more.
long.
Yeah.
Not for long.
Colby's going to be rich here after this album.
No. This is going to take off. You guys,
Oh, yeah. We're going to be super famous on the internet.
Yeah, dude, the internet's literally the best place to become famous right now. That's
Yeah.
what they keep telling me.
Yeah. It's true, though. It's easiest there, I think, maybe.
We should just
It
have
is.
a podcast where we just interview people that have podcasts.
Just the podcast.
This is called Meta, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
called
speaking of
Meta.
Meta, tell us about your Meta sunglasses that you have.
Ooh.
Because you're the first person I know that has them.
Okay, so I heard about them through John, the bass player for Flatland. He had them on a little boat cruise that we went on. And I was like, what are those? Because they look like normal sunglasses. And he's like, hey, Meta, take a video. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of power.
Yeah.
So I decided that I was going to get a pair.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have to say this because I have no sponsors, but I'm not sponsored by Meta.
Yeah.
True.
But I do think that they're pretty neat.
Yeah.
They remind me of like when I was a kid and I was watching like a lot of spy movies that I thought were cool, and they had like cool sunglasses that could do things. That is what I imagine, but they're like seamless. You know, they don't look like trash like most things like that.
I want to try those Apple ones too that kind of give you like
The
a second-
augmented reality.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Provision. I
yes.
think they're
I
called.
want. Okay, I thought I saw someone wearing them. I'm like, this looks idiotic.
Yeah.
Then I realized that I can go for a run with those things on outside and just be watching like Netflix while I'm like running in a park.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need that.
I can't wait till they get to the form factor of like what the
Yes.
Meta glasses are.
Yeah.
I've heard that they're very front heavy on your face.
Yeah.
So I probably couldn't run.
I did buy the Oculus.
Yeah.
I have the
So you're an
virtual
early
rea-
adopter.
I am, yeah. And I don't know. I loved the Oculus when I first got it, and I was on it a lot. There's like a couple really, really fun games, but the problem is you don't have enough RAM to like run longer games. So games that I loved ended up ending pretty quickly. But I will say that it's really cool, and it is really front heavy though. Like a lot of those games, you're moving around a lot, and you have.
I played the Arrow one where you like shoot the zombies.
Yeah, you ever play? What's it called? It's called Super Hot.
No,
Okay, I know what we're doing after this.
playing video games.
yeah.
Hell
We're
yeah.
gonna go play Super Hot at my house.
Done.
It is
Blessings.
very fun.
But I want to try those Apple Vision things.
Same.
And I feel like if I'm editing like photos and I'm
Yeah.
like not at the house where I have my color calibrated screen and my second laptop, and you can like watch a movie while you're like editing, and that sounds sick.
Right. I would love
Yeah.
to have them for the road. I think it'd be really cool. I could actually be like making content while I'm in the van, or you know what I mean, like editing and stuff. Could also be watching a movie.
Yeah, that's wasting time is what's going to happen for sure.
Yeah, but I also love the fact that I could use it like for a hotel gym and like watch whatever I want that way versus like, you know.
Yeah, I bought a Switch and I'm like, I'm going to play this all the time on the road, and I just
Don't that much.
I've never.
I do. I use my Switch all the time. Also, the fun thing to do is you take the Switch and take the dock with it, and then you guys, as like a group, can play like Mario Party, Super Smash Brothers,
Yeah.
Mario Kart. Like that's kind of the vibe.
All of the best games.
I brought my 64 out on the road for a while, and then some of the guys in the band were like, loved it. We played Mario Kart 64 all the time. And someone like, video games? What are you, a kid?
Okay, let's talk about this.
Gladly.
I have a big thing about this. When I was a child, there were rules around things that I could and cannot do. And I remember thinking like, dude, if I was an adult, I would eat candy and drink soda and play video games and watch movies all day long.
Yes.
And then I became an adult and I had like adult things to do. But I'm slowly becoming a child again.
Yeah.
I had this realization where it's like, dude, I'm an adult now. And if I wanted to, not saying I do, but I could euld candy all day, play video games all day.
You could eat that chocolate right there if you wanted.
Dude,
it's my choice.
Yeah.
I was a free range kid for sure, but I would say that like nowadays, I think it's so important for me to turn my brain off and play video games.
Yeah.
I think it's so important for me to check out a little bit because it's too heavy. It's a little too heavy all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to be an adult that is also a child. Keeps you young.
Do you ever watch people play video games like on Twitch or YouTube?
I do on TikTok Live. In fact, I have two major obsessions. One is a video game that I am very obsessed with. It's called Hell Let Loose.
Is that the war game?
Yeah, it's like a World War II military simulator, and I really love that game. I play it a lot. If you see Lorax515 out there, it's me.
You just leak your handle, your gamer handle?
He
Yeah,
is the
dude.
Lorax.
Yeah, I speak for the trees.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you need to stop making sneeds. but yeah, that game is amazing, and I watch people on TikTok Live play that game, and also on Twitch. And then also, I'm not good at this game, but I love watching people play Guitar Hero.
Really?
Yeah, people like really good. I love watching.
I saw that guy. He beat the record or something. Like he beat Freebird at like twice speed.
Probably
or something.
Through the Fire and Flames.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was like the first person to do it or something. Yeah. And I was like, this guy really plays a lot of Guitar Hero. So here's my thing with like the streaming is we played a pre-Super Bowl party last year, not the Super Bowl, the one before. And we were having this party in Luke's green room, and there was a dude sitting there that was just kind of just chilling. He wasn't talking to anyone. And there's all these famous people in the room. It was like football players. I don't even know who they were, like played for teams, like NFC teams that I just don't watch. And he was just sitting there. So I'm like, hey, dude, like, what's up? And I talked to him for 20 minutes. and then we had a great conversation. We talked about whatever. And then I was like, how are you here? Like, why are you in Luke's green room right now? And he's like, oh, I'm friends with Tim, the Tatman, the video game guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like, what do you do? He's like, have you ever heard of Ninja? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that sounds familiar. He's like, yeah, I'm a Twitch streamer. And I was like,
the Fortnite god, the original Fortnite god.
Yeah, the OG.
Yeah, this guy's like, and come to find out, it's like the biggest Twitch streamer of all time.
Right.
And so him and I started talking. He's a super nice guy, and his wife too, Jessica. They're both like incredibly nice. And I'm like, it's got to be harder than it seems, right? Just to stream video games and like, because everyone says it's easy and blah blah blah. He's like, no, man, it's pretty easy. I just like play video games and just chill. I'm like, I thought my job was cush.
No, the difference is, I'll say this: our job is cool, and there's a big price to pay for that.
He said that if you're in the top 3% of whatever your thing is, that you could make a living streaming it.
Oh, 100%.
So if it's Guitar Hero or if it's squishing jelly donuts with your hands or whatever whatever
That's
it
a little
is.
inside joke, but
Yes, true. So that's interesting. I kind of want to try streaming. I want to like get on there and play some. I watch people play chess a lot. That's why I brought it up.
Oh, for sure. No, because I've actually, the only game that I would consider myself actually being good enough at to do it is this Hell Let Loose game. And a lot of people do watch it, but the games are long. It's like an hour and a half gameplay if you play it like all the way through and the game actually goes to its finish. But it's like the only game I feel like I'd be confident enough in to do.
And playing video games now is like networking.
it is.
Like,
For me, for sure.
yeah, it was like Zeus, our monitor guy, was playing Call of Duty with Luke and Zach, the boys from the road. And his wife's like, hey, why don't you come eat dinner or do whatever? And he's like, I'm at work right now, babe. I can't. And she's like, what are you talking about? He pulls that cable out of the hand of the controller, and Luke goes, Maggie, I need Zeus right now. We're winning, so he can't come do that right now. And she's like, okay, fine.
Well, it is though. Like, I mean, I play I play with my friends from back in Idaho who I don't get to see very often. And those are some of like my best friends of all time. You know, I grew up with them, and one of them was a roommate with me, with Whitney and I, while I was trying to make the dream work. You know, he's just as big of a part of it as anything. I don't get to talk to him very much. But we do play Hell Let Loose together. And so, like, you know, at night, that's our time to hang out again. And it's just like, you know, just like it used to be.
Right, back in the old days.
Right.
Yeah, I started recently playing Fortnite. I bought a PlayStation 5 right before I left my old day job, like when I used to have money, you know.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Wasn't really my idea, you know. But it was I was like, oh, I'm going to play Call of Duty with my brother Steve, because he said, you know, him and his buddies that I used to play with back in the day on like PlayStation 3 still played. Then I got on there and none of them ever played. So I was like, well, that's not great. But then Alex Maxwell, Matt McKinney, a bunch of my buddies all started playing Fortnite. So now we have like a crew of Fortnite buddies, and we'll get on there and it's like fun, and it's like talking to your buddies on the phone.
Exactly.
It's like venting about your day a little, you know?
Yeah, because you're going through the gameplay of it. You're like, oh, there's a guy here, or this is happening, or we need to go do this. But then in the the downtime, you're just talking about whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. The other thing about it is like creating you meet new friends. I don't know, like I kind of have this
Internet
like little
buds.
online community that I do play with. Like if my buddy's not on, I have a couple people that I do play with. I will say this though, this is a pretty funny story. So this guy, I'd played with him for like 3 or 4 nights in a row. We'd get on at the same time, and we were running what's called a recon unit in the game, which is just a 2-person squadron. So just him and I are kind of talking to each other. And we kind of start walking through, we start getting like personal, because we've been playing, 3 or 4 days or 3 or 4 nights in a row of playing this game is a lot of commentary.
Yeah.
And so he starts kind of telling me about his life, and like I'm kind of consoling him about some certain things, and we're kind of walking through it. And so, he's like, so what do you do? I'm like, so I kind of tell him everything. And, it was great. Like he totally understood. Like it was cool, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't really like country, so it's whatever." And like, so no, it was good though. Like that's like the best answer. Yeah. And so we kind of start walking through it, and then the next day he's like, "Oh yeah, dude, like I brought my sister up, and she's like a big fan of yours, and blah blah. I think she's actually gonna go to one of the Luke shows, and yada yada yada." And it was cool. And then one of the days we're playing in a bigger squadron. We're like in a normal infantry squad, which is 6 or 7 people. And the dude just outs me.
Brutal, dude.
You're like, come on, bro.
He outs me in a lobby of 7 people, but it's on a team of 50 people. And so and it was cool, because he was kind of like, dude, this guy's like actually like he's cool, but I'm like, no.
Stop. You're like, don't do it, dude. Don't do it.
But it was cool. It was fun.
Well, that's like one of the neat things too. Is like, of course, everybody has different people they play with, but I was like, my buddy Frank's been crashing with me. He's in from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, play with my buddies. And then I was like, Frank, this is a team game. These guys are meeting you for the first time on this video game. If you're acting like an idiot and not saving their back, they're going to remember that.
Yeah, it's not going to fly, dude. Well, yeah, it's funny too, because a big name that plays this Hell Let Loose game is actually Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh, yeah.
He's big into the game. And he plays with Drew Parker a lot. So him and Drew Parker play together. Classic and Dale
Drew.
plays the game. And so I'm like constantly asking Drew, I'm like, dude, can we please run a squad? I'd love to play with Dale.
Dude, that'd be sick.
And because they've been playing it for I've been playing it for 2 years, and they've been playing it for since it very first came out, maybe even alpha. It was.
Are you better than Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Hell
I
Let
don't
Loose?
know.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm pretty good. I'm not
Are you
going to lie.
better than Drew?
I don't know. I haven't played with Drew yet either.
Damn, he won't even play.
They don't
with
have
you?
stats or something you can
I don't have
ELO?
career stats, but I would say I have a really good KD, and I get a lot of points, and I'm pretty good. I'm a decent level. If it wasn't for tour, I'd be literally the best player. I play it every day.
Yeah, if you didn't have to have a job and stuff. Yeah.
Well, if I didn't get
So
to have a
dumb.
job.
True.
Ooh.
Yeah. I was very Keller comment.
Yeah.
From you.
Well, I hang
We
a
love
lot.
you,
I
Keller.
love Keller. I hang out with him a lot. He gives a lot of perspective. A lot of perspective that I don't think I see comes through Keller as well.
Yeah, the good boy.
He is, and he has a very different vision on things, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah, I love it.
I remember when Kurt was like, "We're gonna have Keller on the pod," and I was like, "I don't really know anything about this dude." And then we had him on the pod. I was like, "That was amazing."
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his
it was
lens is
amazing.
really cool.
It
It's
is.
very refreshing too.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
And it's crazy to watch his lens change too. Like we just had him back on the pod, and it's like, you've been through war a little bit now, bud. You know? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
You get to see how this whole thing affects the whole thing. You know?
Well,
super cool.
And
driving by himself in a van. Yeah.
You can see how people end up jaded in this industry for sure. I mean, I think you're met with it almost every day.
I have to mindfully not be jaded.
Right.
Sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And I never thought that would be the case. But like sometimes stuff goes bad, but then it goes good, you know?
Yeah.
And you have to be able to get through the bad to get back to the good.
I feel like this is a Nick Tressler stump speech because you always talk about
the roller coaster,
the ups and the downs and the highs
That's
and the
it,
lows.
man. This whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, life's that. Everybody's life is that.
Right. The downs just make the ups better.
Yeah.
Like that's 100%. I think that's kind of just the purpose of it.
Yeah.
I don't know either. Well, we can start really diving into the ether now. This is a really good transition.
Okay. Ether.
There's something to be said right now, I think, about people expecting life to be good always.
Yeah.
And instead of it being a dream or a hope for life to be good, it's an expectation all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that came from, but I do feel like it's something that is being a consistent thing right now. And I do want everyone to live a great life. You know, I feel like that is something that is going to be, it's a really good thing. Mm-hmm. But also like your life is your own experience. It's all, you know, perspective and relevance.
Yep.
And nothing that's good is ever given.
Yeah.
It's usually earned.
Yeah.
Not taken either. I don't want to say it's taken because you got to earn it.
Right. And you're on social media all the time and everyone's just posting their highlight reel.
Yeah. All I post is the pics that people that are good at photos take of me, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
You're
I
welcome.
will 100% say that. I run my own social. And the biggest takeaway that I have from social media basically controlling my life is that use social media. Use it as a tool.
Yeah.
Use it as a business. Don't use it as your identity or your personality.
Yeah.
You can't let likes and comments and DMs, because as soon as you get a DM that says you're great, you're gonna get a comment that says you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Neither of those
are true.
Yeah, neither of those are valuable.
Yeah.
I will fight whoever said that you're a piece of shit.
Oh, dude, they're all over.
Really?
Oh yeah, but I mean, there's also good ones. I'm just saying though. But like all of these comments and stuff, like they have nothing to do with my identity or who I am. They're all these. It's also through their perception, their lens of like how they see things.
Well, I talked to Matt about that. Like he'll post something on the story and he's like, "It's doing really," or on the like Raise Rowdy account, and he's like, "It's doing really good." I'm like, "Bro, just look at it at the end of the week." Like,
yeah.
You can't get too caught up in that.
The numbers will kill you.
Yeah, and we have that Butt Rock account, and Brian runs it, and I help a little bit. But like Matt's like, well, give me the account login for that. I'm like, dude, you won't do anything. Like, I know how you are. I'm like, if you're in that account with the number of comments and the number of like interactions it's getting, you're not going to get anything else done. I just know how he is.
Well, and especially for like people, I mean, like myself, and I think like all of us, we're a little bit prone to instant distraction.
Yeah.
And you know what? One thing though I am kind of proud of, and it's more of like a brain exercise for me, is I leave all of my notifications on. So like,
your phone's just a mess all the time.
All the time, but it's such a mess now that I just don't look at it.
Yeah,
I've mine all of them turned off.
Right, most people do, and I'm kind of getting there. It's starting to get to the point where it's really annoying. Like if I make a post in the morning, it'll be going for 3 days on the one post. So it's kind of like I don't.
Especially if it has Dobro in it.
Especially if it has Dobro on it, for sure. That's 100%
he sucks.
factual. But I keep it on as like a reminder. Like, okay, look, people are caring about this or hating it, one or the other. I'm not going to know because I'm not going to open it for that reason.
Yeah.
Because it is like to put out content. And I think also running my own socials, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But I love doing it because there's something about having a firsthand interaction with a DM that's like really meaningful, or a firsthand comment that it really like, I'm kind of like, oh, this is a strange take, you know? One thing I will say is like, I made a tweet a couple weeks ago about it. It was kind of based on like when Wyatt Flores had to take a little bit of a leave from the road. And I've been thinking about this for a long time, and once again, I don't like giving benefit to artists because the artists already have so many benefits. But this is one thing that I do think has been changing recently. People are becoming famous at a younger age right now.
Yes.
And I think it's super hard on anybody to have that much demand regardless of age. But there is something as like where if you don't know how, I mean, no one is like, I don't think ready to go into the shock that is experiencing that much like saturated fame so quickly. And so the tweet was basically like, hey, you need to think about how these songs, like when you listen to a song from an artist that you really like, that really helps you get through something, they probably wrote it at a time when they needed that song just as much.
Yeah.
And they are still people, and they like the demand of consumption is so high that if the artist, and also for tour, the demand for shows and consumption is so high that if the artist doesn't feel comfortable putting out at that rate, they still feel like they have to.
Yeah.
And it gets you in this very strange mental space. And I've definitely been there a couple times. It's hard to feel it's hard to feel the love for it. It's hard to like really work through that.
Like you have to strike while the iron's hot because.
But they tell you it never cools, basically.
Right. Exactly. So you're always just
Yeah, and they're like work, and it's fine because like I feel like now I'm to the point where I can just do that, and then if I get tired, I'm like, hey, I'm exhausted, and that'll just kind of be the thing. But you have to be really good at running on zero for a very long time, and you have to kind of have this realization. Actually, one of the realizations I had was talking to Luke at Arrowhead. And Luke's like, I'm talking to him about it, and he's kind of like, I'm talking about, what is it? What is the drive like for the entire career? Like, take me through this journey that you had. And his kind of, I'm not directly quoting him here, but like his basic thing was, you climb the mountain. You're always climbing this mountain, and you think of it that way because that's always the way like that I've thought about it. Mm-hmm. Start at the bottom, you start climbing. As you start climbing, there's less and less space, so it just kind of gets, there's less and less people up, and then there's someone at the top. And Luke was like, yeah, I got to the top of the mountain and realized that I had to build more mountain. Yeah. And that is the reality of what this is. And so like that whole mountain mentality is such a racket that I tell myself that, like once I get to the top, or if I can get to the top, gravy. No, more work.
Right.
Yeah.
The hardest work. Build another mountain.
Yeah.
Build your own mountain.
Yeah.
So I think it was super helpful for me to basically let a lot of things go and just be like, fuck it. Like this, it's going to be what it's going to be because, I'm walking forward at least, but it's pretty daunting.
And I think Luke's in the spot now too, where he is comfortable like playing less shows and because like when we're in Australia, his child was born when he wasn't there. It was born early, and so I think that was maybe, I'm just speculating, but it's like, we're playing 25 shows this year instead of 75 or whatever.
Yeah.
He's got a family, so.
Right. No, I mean, it's understandable. Yeah. And like,
priorities are different at different times of your life.
Right.
Right. And I think as an artist, you'll of course see that. And you have seen it already, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it's hard to say that I don't prioritize success anymore, but I prioritize, I think right now I'm in I prioritize songs and music portion and like the show and the stuff for me. I think as an artist, especially as an artist that, we got a long way to go, and an artist that's maybe on the, kind of in that up and coming section of things, starting to make a little name for ourselves. To me, those are the things that are really important. Like, what can we give the consumer, the people that, are the daily drivers?
Yeah.
What can we also do for people at the live shows? How can we make it feel different than the show that they saw last week?
Yep.
And then obviously, how can we make them come back? So,
I think that's a very good thing. And I mean, again, in every part of every person's life that fits, right?
Right.
Thinking about it that way will help you in every aspect of your life.
I just try to think of like when I was a fan of people, what did I gravitate towards?
Yeah.
And I do think for me, I always gravitated towards something that was genuine and something that I felt like the artist or the band really, it wasn't about them. I mean, you got to think about it. The job is the driving, the merch, the setup, the takedown.
Yeah.
The benefit is you get to play.
Yeah.
For an
people
hour
that
or two.
Hopefully will like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and that part I do for free. Mm-hmm. But you're paying me for all the other shit we got to do.
Yep.
You know?
You're paying for being away from your kids. You're paying for being away from your
neighbor,
people you love.
Your neighbor.
Getting to miss moments.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's everything. I mean, if you think about an 8-hour day job, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
That's what you're getting paid for.
We're working longer hours than that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know? Absolutely. For me, previously, like, music was my release. That was what I did after my day job that was fun.
Right.
So it's hard for me a little bit now to compartmentalize, okay, this whole thing that I'm doing now is all work.
Yeah.
But it's also super fun.
Well, there's
at times.
Yeah. You know? I don't know, man. It's hard because I do feel like I don't listen to music very much anymore.
I do still, but not. I've found myself going to other genres to clear my brain.
Yeah, it's the there's also something to be said about the saturation of it. There's so much music out. You're almost like, I don't know what to listen to. So I'm going to pick XYZ. And then if you don't like it, or if it's not like hitting really home, you're like, well, now what?
Well, this is something that'll fix that for you. Is you just listen to Nick's playlist, and then it's got all these good songs on it.
True.
I for years didn't listen to music really, which is weird. And I have the things you grew up with. I have like the Ride the Lightning album.
Metallica.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I like this Scheherazade, I like that, and I like this and that, and that's kind of like my go-tos and stuff. And I would listen to some new stuff, but recently I've been listening to like every day, listening to random new shit, and I think partly because I got Spotify, and I think the algorithm's showing me stuff.
It's really good.
You're probably listening to a lot of Western White Pines, and it's feeding you some good music.
Well, I'd feed that to myself. Yeah. But also, it's like, if like when I go running, I try to listen to new music just to hear what's going on, and so that I'm exploring what is this. Who's Treaty Oak Revival, and like,
let's go.
And like, what is this? Also, this other new artist that has a song out. I'm like, this is bad, but it's like, but there's like cool new shit out, and listen to your playlist and listen to everything.
Well, and that's one of the cool things that I think about music is like, there's so many emotions that come from music. So for me, listening to a bad song can make me funny, happy almost sometimes.
Right. Dude, I talk so much more. This is a bad thing to do. Don't do this at home, kids. I talk so much more about the songs that I don't like than I do talk about the songs that I do like.
You just summed up social media in one sentence.
Yeah.
Like,
it's true though.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it that way. I do think I think being fundamentally kind and always positive about everything is something that you just have to work at really hard.
This guy's good at it right here.
I try my best. It's tough.
I've never, in the history of Raised Rowdy, seen them post anything negative about music.
Right, which is
ever
great.
Once. I've never seen like, oh, this Dylan Marlowe song gets a 1.0 or whatever that post was, or like anything like that. It's always just Nick's words. I'm going to shine a light on what makes me happy, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
I think it's
and
cool.
I do think that,
but it doesn't get as much engagement as this song is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also, I mean, sure, but there is something to be said about people who don't create music.
Yep.
That shit on it.
Yeah. It's hard for me.
That's what Dylan wrote that song about, right?
Yeah, it's hard for me as a consumer and a lover of this thing so much to say to an artist or writer or anyone, hey, your art doesn't have value.
Right.
Right? It's so tough to do that because like it does have value. Just them putting it into the world has value to them,
Yeah, of course.
But of course there's things that I like more than other things, and as like what we are doing right now with having so many live events in town is like I have to be a curator of the stuff that I think is cool. The good thing about what we do is it doesn't have to mean I love every artist's voice that plays our round. There could be something in that song that just made a spark, or you could just think about, oh man, remember when that kid was 19 and they started singing, and think about how much better their voice is now. Like that all has positive benefits. And the other thing, dude, is like throughout my whole life, I have tried to be a shining light for people because everybody has bad days. A lot of people have bad days often.
All the time.
Yeah. If when I go into my day job or when I go into my social setting, if I can help make someone's day better, why wouldn't I?
Right. I mean, there's not enough of that in the world for sure. And it seems to me always it's like whenever it's the most needed is when it's the most celebrated.
Yeah.
Which is the most unfortunate thing. Because as soon as times are good, people are assholes.
Yeah.
The only reason why we have bad times is because people fuck it up during the good times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 100% true. People get so complacent and they just think, oh, things are good, so they can never be bad. But being a shining light for people and like being positive and being kind and like sticking to things is, once again, I just think it's very important to be all the time. And it's hard. You have to work at it.
Yeah.
You know, I try to work really hard on it, but it doesn't always come through.
No. When everybody has bad days, like we talked about on the previous podcast that we just did, but you have to do your best to be on all the time. Right?
Yeah.
And that's for your friends. That's for your family, you know? Yeah. And there's a few people that you let deep enough in where you can show them the hurt. You can show them when you're struggling, you know?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Hopefully you have some people in your life that you can do that with, because everybody has those moments.
Right. Yeah. And I'm very thankful that, you know, I mean, I think everybody here has a huge community and we're lucky.
Yeah.
It actually does allow us to do the other thing.
Yeah.
Because I think if you have no one, it's so much easier to like, well, it's impossible because you offshore everything to everybody.
But at the same time, it's like if you aren't being that shining light to other people, you're not going to find as many other people with shining lights to be around. You know?
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful of it and work towards it as well.
Oh, 100%.
And being around people that are just negative, I'm a very glass half full person. I don't know if you guys ever noticed about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But if I'm around someone that's like super negative all the time, it like drains my happiness.
Your battery.
I'm like,
I can definitely be negative sometimes, but
everybody can.
I try to be positive sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has ups and downs.
Yeah.
But some people like complain a lot, like all the time, habitually. I'm like,
yeah, I'm more like, let's go, boys.
Yeah, and the hard part about complaining is you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
Or else it eats your soul away too, right?
Right.
So you have to do that sometimes, but it's like, how do you fix it? That's the real root of the thing.
I try to put all my complaints into songs.
Yeah.
That does help a lot. If I'm like, oh, I feel pissy. And I've written so many songs that I'll never see a recording studio, you know, that are just therapy songs.
Yeah.
That are like, okay, this obviously just needs to come out. And there's one of my favorite songs is a Jim Croce tune, Had to Say I Love You in a Song. Every time I try to tell you, the words just come out wrong, so I figured I'd say I love you in a song or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's something where enchiladas. Yeah. There's something about it though where like it's like I spend so much time thinking about how to write songs that it's almost easier to like talk about things in a song.
Yeah.
Which is very strange. But even like Eddie, my producer, he's always like, oh God, like you even talk in song verse. Like you're just stop.
Because you're a Rocky Mountain songbird, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Deep cut, unreleased.
Yeah. That song is really great though. That'll see the recording studio, won't it? One day.
For my next tour or my next record. Not the one coming out, but the next one.
The next one.
Yes. And the new one is coming out April 15th.
Yeah. That's tax day. It's not coming out.
And that's also a Monday.
But no, yeah, I don't know when that's going to come out. I would imagine we start releasing music probably early May.
May 2nd is my birthday, so you should release it Friday, May 3rd.
Okay, that sounds like a deal. Sony.
It'll be a birthday gift to me.
Happy
Please.
birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, you get to hear it before already, so
We listened to it on the way here. You've heard it.
I know.
The first time I heard your record, we were up till 4 a.m, and we were very drunk, and we laughed and cried and listened to the record. I made him play like each song like 3 times.
It was great.
What night was that? Was that the CMA award night?
It was.
Yeah, that was a good night.
I wasn't going to go out.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Famous, and then we're up till 4 a.m.
Yeah, I needed that night, though. It was a great night.
Oh,
It was
brilliant.
phenomenal.
What's your favorite part about being in Nashville so far?
Oh, I don't know. Probably living on Benjamin Street.
Whoa. Yeah.
I didn't say where.
That's true. Speaking of neighbors, Dan Smyers used to live across the street from me also.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like one day I was sitting in my living room, the front door open, and this guy opens my gate and runs into my house shirtless, and it was Dan. He was like, "What up, dude?" I'm like, "You want a beer?" He's like, "Yeah." We could have had the fucking coolest block party, man.
We still
Colton,
could. We still could.
Yes, we got to get everyone to move
We're
in.
taking applications.
This is like your trailer park you want to build.
I know. My dream house is a pole barn house at
Amazing.
the top of like a hill.
A barn dominium.
Yeah. And then I want to have a winding driveway
Cool.
that has other buildings on it of different levels of like disrepair or like size.
And then you live at the top,
Yeah.
king of the castle.
Well, and my friends just come visit. They don't live there. They
That's
just
cool,
like,
too.
I'm like, hey, I have this double wide that you can stay in for as long as you would like. And it's 180 feet from my house, you know?
Just close enough. but not too
Podcast
close.
studio. Yep, that's a single wide down there. You know, like
I
see
love
that, see that little building that looks like a cave. Yep, that's where we light off the fireworks.
Oh,
you
dude,
know?
I love this compound idea. Raise
I know,
Rowdy compound.
It's great. It would probably be hard to get people to leave sometimes, but that's why you just make them double wide.
What's that place that they say like all the elites go to and like they burn like an owl effigy? It's
Epstein's Island?
No.
Oh, we're definitely.
Bohemian Grove. Yeah.
Oh,
What is
Thank you,
Bohemian
Charlie.
Grove? I don't know what that is. What is that?
See, that was like a Rogan experience right there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Bohemian Grove is like where all of these. It's alleged. Get on your tinfoil hats, boys. But it's like going to. It's like this elite place that they all go to in California.
Who's they?
Oh, it's in the Redwoods.
Illuminati?
Yeah,
it's
Illuminati vibes, and they like burn this like giant human stick thing in front of an owl. Yeah, Moloch.
Dang,
yeah.
Charlie knows
See, there's
all
like
about
some
this.
shit
He
going
goes
on
there.
here.
Charlie's in the Illuminati.
There's a
from
lot of
California.
shit going on with the with this Grove situation, but I can imagine this being like the Raise Rowdy thing.
Yeah.
So instead of the elites, it's like upper middle class artists with like middle class people, and we like burn beer cases and
Yeah.
like have pallet fires and
Cardboard and pallets.
Yeah, and you can't get in if you're the elite.
Yeah.
No owl gods allowed.
Yeah, if you have like 5 million Spotify listeners or above, you're not
We're
invited.
like, ew, you're not allowed around here.
Yeah,
you
not
can still
cool.
visit, but you can't stay.
Not
you
cool,
know?
boo boo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
That sucks though, because then eventually you be like become uninvited potentially.
No, you're grandfathered in.
Yeah, you get grandfathered in.
Oh,
That's a good way to
amazing,
do it.
amazing. So there are 3 elites.
Yeah.
It's us 3.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 in Baril.
Oh, well, don't forget Charlie.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie's gonna be running the sound.
That's true. So
like
like, Charlie, can you
Camp
fix that in
David.
post? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We have 17 podcasts going on at the same time and fireworks.
This is really making me want to drink beer and play guitar and shit.
Yeah. That's why we have a
Red
cave for
Dragon.
the fireworks, so
It
it's
is,
not too
yeah,
loud.
Top 5.
Damn, man, that's fucking cool.
But that's the dream. All right, I want to talk about the robots.
Okay, let's do it.
AI. So we use AI for podcasts.
Of course.
So instead of making Charlie sit there and switch the things, we have a service from the internet, robots, that switches who's on camera.
Hey, let's test it right now. I'm gonna start talking. Am I on the camera now?
I'm on the camera now.
Maybe I'm on the camera now.
Whoa, it worked.
Yeah. Maybe we're all on the camera now.
We are all. Hey, Meta, take a video.
I mean, there's two sides of it, right? There's AI is going to make everyone, without a job. And then there's AI is going to make everyone not have a job.
Well,
Yeah.
how deep in the weeds do you want to get with this?
Let's get deep in the weeds.
I'm
not even baked, but let's go.
I have a show at 8:30.
Yeah.
So
we got time.
Yeah, we got 5 hours.
It's not going to take that long.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I have this thing with AI. I have this theory. Because AI takes away the jobs.
Yeah.
But are we talking, let's talk a little bit further in the future. AI robots kind of thing going on. Skynet, pretty much. If you don't have, who owns the robots?
Yeah. That's where we're at right now. They're fighting over
who owns the robots and who owns the intellectual property that they create.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to look really weird.
I hope it looks like Star Trek, where there's food replicators and we just zip around and chill.
I would love that.
Yeah.
But I think how it's going to look first.
It's Terminator 2.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to look like iRobot with Will Smith.
Yeah.
Where
Keep his name
rich people, you'll be based on how rich you are. Because the very first trillionaire will be the very first person who owns the most amount of AI robots that are doing these jobs, because it's basically slave labor.
Yeah.
Now, if these robots are not sentient, then they're a tool. And I could see how that makes sense. But if you give them a human brain and they are sentient, now you have modern slavery.
Yeah.
And maybe the first trillionaire will be a robot.
I've said that. I've said that the first trillionaire could be a robot. It could also be like, I'm going to be absolutely...
Do it.
These are like very far out theories. I don't necessarily believe in these 100%, but I could see these going this, because history repeats itself.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see things like, this is obviously unprecedented history, but it's still, time is a flat circle. Snake eats its tail. Nietzsche.
Yeah. Turtles all the way down.
Yeah. And it's
DMT.
like, I could definitely see it to the point where you have an AI robot who's like running for office.
Yeah.
And his campaign would be so amazing, because he'd be like, you guys are terrible at running things. You've never done anything right. Look at what you did in the world. The best thing you've ever done is make us. And I could definitely see people being like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you know what else? People will be like, oh, perfect. Now I don't have to do this job.
Yeah.
People are really good at that too.
I just want to be hooked up in the Matrix.
If you create sentient life, you already are.
Did you see those emails that they're going around from like Elon back and forth with the head of ChatGPT basically?
Mm-mm.
It's just like talking about it a little bit at a high level, about like, yeah, this is the thing and it'll help us figure out all of the right decisions to make for the world. And like, we just have to make sure it doesn't get into corporate hands in the wrong hands.
Well, it's true, because my buddy works in the same guy who does like a lot of my ad stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he's been in the tech space for a long time, and he's doing some AI stuff as well, very similar to like the stuff that you guys are running right now.
Yeah.
Especially for podcasting. But he is, one of his buddies is like actually in the AI robotics thing. And they're basing the nodes that they use for the brain capacity for an AI robot based on the human brain.
Yeah, of course.
So in theory, if you build every single node, and like a node is a neuron in your brain, if you build every single node, the ones and zeros, exactly like a human brain, what are you going to end up with? I don't know. You turn that thing on, it's going to be like, you turn it on, and if it doesn't have a conscience, it's going to be like, oh shit. Like, our brain is just a ones and zeros factory. But if you turn it on and it has consciousness, then you're like, oh shit, our brain is complicated enough in BioLife to create consciousness.
Yeah.
I have to shout out another podcast that's one of my favorites. It's called End of the World with Josh Clark. Have you guys ever heard of this?
No.
Do you know Stuff You Should Know podcast?
Yes.
Okay, it's a favorite of mine. Josh has a short form podcast. There's only like 11 episodes, and each episode is a possible way that humanity will cease to exist.
Amazing.
So one episode is meteor strikes, something hits the earth, or one is infectious disease, or all these, and one of them is AI.
Right.
And he talks about how you can have an AI help you select the best thing to watch on Netflix, but because it doesn't have a conscience, it'll go through everything it has to do to make sure, and it could be get rid of all other movies, so there's only one, or it could be like get rid of all the people that make other movies, so there's only so whatever it is, like shit can get really dark like super fast.
If
like
you run basically if you run through an AI, if you were like, okay, AI base model, you just turned it on, it hasn't learned anything, it hasn't absorbed any data yet. If you were like, hey, this patient has cancer, cure it, the very first response that it would likely come up with is you need to kill the patient.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no,
cancer.
Yeah. Then you're like, no. We need to do. So then but you have to teach it as it goes. Mm-hmm. That's with no conscious. That's with just like ones and zeros, basic computing power and like understanding. But if you can get it, if it all of a sudden has morals, if it can
code of conduct.
Yeah. And if itself is like determining what's right and what's wrong, that's where it gets really spooky. Because that's when it's like, whoa, what are you guys doing? And then we're like, wait, what? And then it's like, no. You got to go.
Skynet.
Yeah. Skynet.
Yeah, there's so many movies about it for a reason.
Tinfoil hat. We are so good at... Humans are so good at predicting the future.
Yeah.
And quickly.
Yeah,
Simpsons
or the
did it.
robots. Yeah, Simpsons did it.
Yeah.
Or the robots already are just like populating those movies out so that we're like okay with it when it happens.
Well, it's everything that, it's not like it's that crazy. If people have thought of something, we've kind of ended up doing it.
Yeah.
For the most part. The only thing we haven't done is time travel, and obviously these like AI robots are now like on the big precipice.
Or like there wasn't dragons. And
why not?
Yeah. Give it a couple years, Kurt.
Okay,
maybe
cool.
the AI dragons.
Every single civilization said there was a dragon. I don't
Whoa.
know.
But it's for me, the thing about AI that is crazy is just like my dad had NAFTA that came in and pillaged our town of Connellsville by taking the best jobs in the area away. I think that could happen too on a grand scale.
Global.
Yeah. Globally.
Macro.
Possibly even bigger than global,
True. Yeah.
And how much of our brain do we use? What do they say? Like 1%, 10%?
I think that's an urban.
It is.
That's an urban
you
legend.
use your entire brain, but you only use
certain parts for certain things.
Yeah. Imagine we build a robot that's based on our brain, but it actually can use all of the stuff all at once.
Well, the biggest difference is like our consciousness cannot be. Yeah. Hey, by the way, we're sober for this.
Yeah.
You cannot
not even high.
You can't. Like we can, in theory, if you could take your consciousness out of your head and put it in a ray of light, you could shoot your consciousness across the universe at light speed as far as you want it to go. The only thing that's holding us back is our meatbag bodies that have terminal velocity and a bunch of other things that we are bound to.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you could, in theory, transfer consciousness, that's another way that we could but maybe create a bunch of different problems.
Yeah.
But definitely that's a way that you can start to do like a lot of big travel and stuff. This is pretty funny. We were talking about this in the van the other day, and I was talking to my guitar player Jack about it, and I'm like, yeah, they discovered, and Stefan, my bass player, and I was like, yeah, they discovered this like super Earth that's a billion light years away or whatever, but it's like 3 times the size of Earth, maybe like even bigger. So the gravity on it's like super intense. But they can see like clouds and water and like land masses, so it looks like a carbon copy of us, just way bigger. So I was talking about how like imagine if we went there and we show up, and because
gravity's pulling way
like
down.
because gravity's so heavy that the animals on the planet are like super squatty,
Yeah.
and their bones are made of gold and their blood's made of oil, and then we get there and we're just like like that is the problem with us traveling other places.
Yeah. We like stuff.
Yeah, we like stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and things. We're like, that stuff's shiny. We should use it.
Yeah.
Well, Larry Niven is a really good sci-fi author who has a book that's kind of based on that.
What's it called?
It's shit, I forgot. I read it, but it's good. But they land on this planet, and it's like essentially there's just this algae growing everywhere. It turns out it's like they are marooned on it, and there's only one life on there, and it's just this algae. But it turns out it's like the whole planet is like a farm.
Right.
And then so they start eating and harvesting it.
Kind of like Dune.
Yeah, and then shenanigans happen.
Yeah.
Right, of course, because like nothing. I also love how in most films that we make that are sci-fi or books that we make that are sci-fi, it's like we always assume that there's another race from another planet that's like the evil one, like the Harkonnens or whatever.
Yeah,
in Dune. And I'm
Harkonnens
like,
or however you say it.
yeah, those guys are 100% human.
Yeah.
Because humans, like we can see, I think a lot, or with relativity, we can see a lot further in the future than our body or our minds will allow us to go. And so we're always striving for success. And like we have a very much so like biologically and primitively like this this drive as a tribe to do good and to like be successful and to push forward. But unfortunately, we also have a huge human error, which is greed and self-promotion. It's very lame for us. We could be something really cool without greed.
Yeah.
But
You should write a like prog rock concept album.
I was invited to do an AI Genesis record one time.
What does that mean?
It means it's like the genesis of band starts with the AI creation, meaning like the end of the world of humans is going to start with AI.
Oh,
So basically iRobot or Skynet all over again.
Terminator.
And I was like,
Probably not.
probably not. But I think it's very interesting. I obviously love this conversation.
Yeah.
And then but in a more like up and coming thing is going to be like influencers that are all fake, that are like, you know, OnlyFans people that are fake, and it's just like AI generated feet photos and AI generated conversations and
songs.
Stuff. Oh,
about
Drake had that song on TikTok go viral. They use his voice without asking him.
The
That's
voice thing's
weird.
crazy
It
because
is nuts.
that's like, I mean, Songcraft, I think we're, you know, pretty good still on, but the voice thing's crazy. Like, if I could, I always say, I was like, I'd pay millions of dollars to have Chris Cornell's voice for 1 week.
Right.
Well, now you can pay millions of dollars to have Chris Cornell's
Not
voice.
even millions.
You know, like that's what I'm
Like,
saying. Like,
I even look at it this way. Like when ChatGPT very first came out, I got on it immediately with the band and I said, write me a Colby Acuff song. And it just, I mean, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't perfect, but it was like, I'm from Idaho. I like White Pines. I drink Miller
Beer,
Lite. Yeah, like it was like, you know, and it said something about Moscow drinking team. Like it was like going through the things. It was collecting data.
Yeah.
And I could have ran that prompt over and over and over and over again, and I would have ended up with something that was probably decent.
yeah.
Which is scary.
Well, and it's like, I mean, there's been algorithms and AI used for years.
Right.
You know, and like you just didn't know what it was, you know, like there were like the Spotify algorithm is something that has been learning from us every time we play a song, you know?
Right. It's kind of like, you know, some of the older generation, they're like, I don't want to give my social security number out for anything. I'm like, they got it already.
Yeah.
Let me blow your mind real quick.
Yep.
Like nothing is sacred. Nothing is safe.
People are always like, crack me up. They're like, why do you have a Google receiver in your house? Like, that's just going to collect all your data. And I'm like, you have your phone in your pocket.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think that thing's doing?
Yeah.
By the way, if you have Wi-Fi in your house, like, you're done. You know?
Right.
Like,
I also would like to be on a podcast.
This is freaking me out, y'all.
Hey, I'm going to go ahead and do one more thing controversially talking about this topic. I'm going to say that I would love to talk about the TikTok ban.
Yeah. I was going to bring it up because we were talking about Western White Pines.
Where are we at with that right now? Is it banned?
So how much do you know about this bill?
Not that much.
Okay, so historically speaking, anytime that a right or a service or something has been taken away by a government, it always starts by saying it's a national security threat. This bill is actually not to ban TikTok. To quote the U.S. government, it's to better TikTok, meaning that if it gets passed through, I believe it passed through the House, has passed through the Senate now. Yeah,
it's flying.
It's got to go through the Senate, and then Joe Biden already said he'd sign it. Then it gives TikTok, the company, a limited amount of time to sell the company, 51% of the company, to Meta.
Oh boy.
They didn't say Meta. It's to a U.S. corporation or somebody of the third party that does not mine data that's basically, that we're in tension with.
Yeah.
So
someone that's already on the inside circle.
Yeah, and I just, I would like to be on public record and potentially canceled for this if that's what it's going to come to it. But I think it's a load of bullshit.
Well, no one listens to the podcast, so don't worry.
It's okay. This one's going to be a good clip.
Okay.
I think for me, though, the TikTok ban is an absolute racket. It's proof that the United States government is also a racket. They're going to pad Zuckerberg's pockets, and Meta's going to, if they pull this off, he's going to own the 3 largest social media companies in the world, and 150 million people in the United States, that's half or a little under half the population of the United States, are on TikTok. It's the largest thing that they have. There's also another thing, or go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, but is there a part of you as an artist who has to make TikToks hoping it just goes away?
Of course. But not for this.
Right.
Yeah.
Not for this. This is bullshit.
Right.
This is like everything that I stand against. This is everything I write about. This is stuff that I thought, for years, I thought I was writing like George Orwell, like, oh, I'm going to predict the future. Like, this is where things could go. That's like If I Were the Devil. Everyone thinks I wrote it in a time. I did write it during COVID, but everyone thought I wrote it looking at the times. I wrote it thinking about the future. Just like how when Paul Harvey did his, that's what the whole thing was based off. It was based off of like, if I were the devil, this is what I'd do. And he's like starting to predict the future. I thought I was like writing 1984. I didn't. I wrote 2024.
Yeah.
Like for me, now my writing is in the present. Now I'm like, holy shit, where are we going with this? How are we going to take this to tomorrow? Like, let alone yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of shit where like, you don't even have to read past the first page to figure out that this thing is complete bullshit. The last time that this happened was like the Rockefeller era, like early 1900s, turn of the century. That's why unions were invented. Like, it's just insane to me that we're going to walk through this.
Yeah. It's a strange time in the world. You can feel a swell for sure.
It's bubbling.
Yeah. I think more than I've seen in COVID has changed people too.
Right.
Like that thing of, hey, no, you got to be a good member of the community and sit at your house and not go outside because there's a new flu around and it is hurting people, and we don't know how to deal with it. So we're putting freaking things down people's throats and they're dying, Yeah,
like, there was some mismanagement there for sure. There was,
But what do? You don't know how to do it.
I'm not the president of the United States. Like, I understand. But I will say, how many problems do we have? Let's just go ahead and say in the country. You don't have to start with the world. But like mental health, homeless epidemic, we have, whether it's one way or another, we got to figure out what we're doing with the border.
Yeah.
I'm very neutral on that as far as like where that's swinging, but there's definitely something going on there. We're having multiple wars. Climate. There is Japan and Germany are militarizing for the very first time since the end of World War II. Like, shit is about to hit the fan. Our economy is absolutely fucked. So I'm looking at all this, and the best solution that the U.S. government they haven't passed a bill in a long time, and the only one they can all agree on is, let's sell TikTok to Mark Zuckerberg. Man, that is some bullshit. And if you're an American citizen and that doesn't piss you off, I don't care who you vote for. That is bullshit.
It's crazy too. I'm very, I'm a registered Republican. I don't think I've ever said that on any podcast before. But
here we go.
I'm very center of the road. You know what I mean? I really am.
I was raised Republican. I've been unaffiliated now for 2 years. Like, I'm just independent completely because I got tired of getting anything from any side.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
The problem with both sides is that it's too extreme on both sides.
The bipartisan is insane.
Yeah. And it's just tough to live in a world where you aren't on either of those extremes for me.
But you can't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking to somebody who's really fired up about voting, typically they really believe in one thing or the other. And that conversation typically goes...
Oh, shit. Sorry. Bonk.
That
Kurt's like, I'm out of this podcast.
No, I'm in now.
That conversation typically goes very poorly one way or the other.
Yeah.
Because you can't have a conversation anymore.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of built that way. Like, unfortunately, we're going through this... I don't know. I will say I'm not a big fan of like I love being a patriot, and I do love the United States, but I'm not a big fan of nationalism. I'm not a big fan
sometimes.
I'm not a big fan of, because I'm from America, that automatically makes me better than everybody else.
Yeah, I joke about it because
right,
it's
of course. Yeah, of course. But it was literally, you know how it's crazy. This is a little history. But like nationalism was actually invented by Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte was hired after the French Revolution. They couldn't stop the French Revolution. The revolutionists just kept guillotining people in the middle of the streets, and they just did this for years. And so they have this new republic, and they're a democracy finally, and they got rid of the monarch, and the revolutionists are just killing everybody. And they bring in this guy named Napoleon, and they're like, okay, Napoleon, like at this point he might be, I don't know, he's in the military for something. And he's known for this battle that he did really well at. And so they bring him in. They're like, okay, we're going to make you a dictator for 1 year. You have exactly 1 year to fix this revolution. Then we're going to go right back to being a democracy. So 1 year passes, and he's like, sorry, I didn't do it. My bad. And then he's like, but give me 1 more year, and I promise I'll do it. And the very first move he does is he gets the guy who invented the guillotine, and they guillotine that guy.
Yep.
And then he goes, because you are all French. No one else could have ever pulled off the revolution except for you, because you're French. Now let's stop destroying France, and let's go take all the land from France to Russia. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
And for 17 years, he went and conquered most of Europe. And that's how nationalism was born.
Yeah.
And ever since then, it's never been like my religion's better anymore. It's not my city's better anymore. It's my country, and everybody outside of it, is not as good. And that stuff to me is very spooky. I don't like it.
Well, I mean, I think it's like that in every form of everything in culture.
True.
It's just groups of people thinking that they are superior to other groups, right? That's racism. That's classism. That's male versus female.
Sexism,
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah, it's strange.
It's religion. It's politics. It's social culture. It's corporate culture. It's everything.
Yeah, I think I don't know why. Like, I don't know when people are going to start thinking of humanity like humanity. And I don't know why.
Dolphins are better than the Packers. Yeah. Dude,
okay.
I hate the Packers.
Sports teams are fun, though.
I have gotten, in my older age now that I'm not super old, but like I'm getting older, I've started caring so much less about sports.
Yeah.
So much less about sports.
I don't know. It's a release for me.
It is.
Because like all this shit that we're talking about is shit that I think about almost every day.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, Packers game, please.
Yeah, distract me.
For me, I was like, I got to a point, and I was probably high when I thought this, but yeah, I was like, why am I putting my own personal happiness tied to a collection of adults playing a child's game that are loosely associated with a city that I grew up close to, right?
Not in, but close.
Not in, but close to. I was an hour away from it, Why am I tying my personal happiness to how well this sport team is doing at playing a child's game? And not only that, but
I love you, Nick.
Why the fuck am I talking about this for an hour or 2 hours with my buddies?
Can I guess when this revelation happened?
Yeah.
Is it right when Ben Roethlisberger left?
No.
That would have been my guess, too.
Honestly, it's funny, too, though, because like when I moved to Nashville, it's a bubble here.
Right.
Like you don't get information that's outside of Nashville unless you're trying.
True.
Right? It's definitely weird for that, in my opinion. I hadn't had local television. I didn't even have an antenna or anything for years before I moved here. And I didn't have a TV in my bedroom or anything for a while. But I'm a big sports guy. I love sports. It's fun. Right. I love going to the game and doing it. But it's just when you really think down to the roots of it, you're like, why do I care who the Steelers just picked up as a quarterback for the next 2 years?
It is the release, though.
Yeah.
It is the release, though.
It is. But I use music for my release.
That's fair. I can't because I don't.
Because you're in music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but it's also just something else to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, the guys, we as a band, you just follow sports because it's like, how many times can we talk about this James Brown record?
Yeah.
Like, and sports is always evolving, which is so nice.
Yeah, it's always changing.
Right. It's like, oh, hey, did you see who got picked up here?
Yeah.
And there's always another game to watch. And like, I don't even like watching the NBA, but I'll watch the NBA in the off season of everything else because it's just something to watch and talk about.
It's gladiators, dude.
Right.
It's the same thing.
And it's a celebration of what humans can do physically, which is cool sometimes. Yeah. And plus, who doesn't like watching bombs? Yeah. And who doesn't watching like just fucking, Tua throwing to Cheetah? Like, that's sick.
It is fun, and I'm not against it.
I don't let it get me. Some people, they get mad or punch a TV. I've seen.
Yeah, no.
Not me.
I only get crushed when the Packers lose to the 49ers in the postseason because it's happened so many times.
So here's the thing that's crazy, though. Would you wear a 49ers jersey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm not like crazy.
That for me is like, oh my God, I can't wear the color red because that's the team I don't like.
Yeah.
That is classism. That is racism. That is culturalism.
Dude, I used to hate, when I lived in Boston, I hated the Yankees so much.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like, there is something culturally about humans, and we're in this thing, and
Mob
I do
mentality.
think yeah, but I do think that we're moving some things for me. I do believe that like humanity is moving in a good direction.
Let's get some positivity in this pod, dude.
There really is a lot of good in humans. I agree with that.
There's a lot more I think good humans. Once again, I was telling Eddie Spear, my producer, this quite a bit. We were having a conversation, kind of unloading some of the things that, we were having a vent sesh a little bit.
Yeah.
And we were in this thing of like, man, it's tough because we constantly want to give people things. Like, truly, I think everybody in this room is a very good reflection of that. But the saying goes, the person who gives the most typically takes the least.
Yeah.
Just by proxy of like how that's a decision that you make. That's not a problem as long as you didn't think that you were going to give so you could get.
Yeah.
And that is the true, I think, like that is the actual meaning of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like if you're going to give money or if you're going to give time or if you're going to give XYZ, just don't ever expect anything back. It's your expectation that sets you up for something.
Yep.
Your expectation is just like whatever you decided to do. Yeah. That should be it.
I totally agree with that. And there's so much to be said for that. Like, you feel good when you give.
Yeah.
But like, you shouldn't give so that person does that same thing back for you, and that's where you get into your head if you do.
Right.
In a way, it sometimes is a selfish thing to be selfless because it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Right.
It's all
dopamine. It is.
Yeah, for sure. Give me that chemical drip.
Yeah.
Spinal Tap.
Will the robots have the chemical drip?
Oh,
ooh.
Because that could be the thing that really sets it different.
All I actually want to experience in my lifetime is Treasure Planet, which is the Disney remake of Treasure Island, but they're pirates on a flying spaceship.
Yeah.
You know that movie?
Yeah.
That sounds sick as fuck, dude.
You should watch it. It's amazing. Whitney hates it, and I love it. It's the best.
We love you, Whitney.
Shout out Whitney.
Love you,
we got to
Whitney.
get Whit on the pod without me.
All right, I'm in.
Just to air all
Just
the
grievances.
Dude, that's the real hang.
Yeah.
You want some real stories? Holy shit.
We'll get Whitney like 6 beers deep and just have her vent on Colby.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. She's gonna have to sign an NDA.
Yeah.
Wait. She hasn't yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've only signed 2 NDAs.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I signed one when I got the Janet gig.
Nice.
So, 'cause there was a lot going on there when I first got on. So, which I guess I've signed an NDA, so I can't tell you all that.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I don't think
usually.
I've signed one.
Yeah.
Hope not.
Oh, yeah. If so, it was in with all the other paperwork they made you sign.
Yeah, it's fine.
No big
It's
deal.
whatever. Yeah, we're here.
Yeah.
We're live. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
All right. So we talked about the robots.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. What else is going on in your world other than music?
That's tough. It's taking a lot of time right now. Okay. Really, I think I'm going through like a very great moment right now of like a lot of gratefulness and just kind of like really taking day by day. I will say like making this record. I mean, I've made a lot of records. I love making records. I love the whole process, being creative. The whole thing is great and everyone is unique. I just like really needed this record for like the last year that I had. And making it was such like a, I mean, it was just a really great experience. Selfishly, actually, I will say, making this record, some of the choices were like these selfish choices that I had to make that but I needed to make them. I really needed to work through some of this shit. And I did, and now we're kind of on the back half of that. We're kind of getting ready to release some of it. We're playing the shows. We're starting to see things, and I'm just like very grateful for, this whole year, the amount of time I have to do the job, and also the people that are involved, And then other than that, I'm hanging out with my girlfriend Whitney a lot, and my neighbor
great.
Kurt, and my friend
Kurt.
Nick, and Charlie.
Charlie.
And, we're just we're doing the thing, but life is good. Life is good.
Dude, this town is super freaking cool, too.
It is. And I love Nashville so much more than I thought I was going to. I think I told you at some point I was never going to come to Nashville.
You were like, I don't know if I ever live in Nashville. And I was like, no, I get it, dude. Because here's the thing, too, though, man.
Same.
This town has kicked me in the face a few times since I've been here. But it's also risen me higher than I've ever been before. You kind of got to take those two together.
Oh, the support groups are stronger than any support groups I've ever had.
Yeah.
But there was something, the thing that exploded my brain from moving here was, I think, probably the very first time I came to your house, because I walk in and everyone has a guitar in their hands, and even the people who don't play are just truly enjoying it. Everyone is singing, and it's not weird to do that anymore.
Yeah.
That, I remember like writing for me, I would like have to like go hide in my basement, because I, like in my hometown, playing guitar wasn't exactly super normal all the time.
Yeah.
So if I was just playing in the living room and someone got home, it'd be kind of like, it wouldn't be weird, but I'd feel kind of awkward about it.
Yeah.
Like in this town, it's so normal. Like I can hear you playing fiddle when I'm next door.
I'm sorry.
And you can probably hear me if I crank my amp up upstairs. And like that's just to be expected in Nashville. I'll walk into a house and we're writing, and like all of a sudden I'm writing a song, or I want to go show Kurt a song that I just wrote. So normal for me to walk over and sing him a song.
Yeah.
So not weird. Anywhere else that is so weird.
Yeah. My friend Megan, who's like one of my longest friends, was in town, and we went to our buddy Justin Duke's birthday party.
Okay.
Right down the road from here, honestly. And they had basically a song circle.
Cool.
So they were singing covers, singing some originals. Everybody was kind of having their moment, but they were all singing together too. And I was like, this never happened where we were at, right? I didn't just miss it. And she's like, no, this doesn't happen.
No.
I love when people break down that weirdness wall and then they're like just jamming. When it's just pure jamming, like on the boat, on the cruise, that's what I love. And I get the guitar out, and it's like cliche, like Wonderwall or whatever, but I get my dobro out. I'm like, just play your songs. Let's fucking do this. Let's have fun.
You're such a slut for jams.
Yeah,
He is a
dude,
jam
I am
slut.
for sure.
And Kurt
That's a shirt. Jam
loves
slut.
more than anything to chain me to a microphone.
Yes.
Kurt will be like, dude, just sing, and like just play those songs, just keep playing. And I'm like, because he knows that I do love it,
Yeah.
and he knows I'll always say yes.
Yes. I'm like, we're doing Piano Man now.
Yeah,
And I'm like, Corey, get over here.
Yeah, I did love though when we were doing it and you were playing the piano.
Yes, it was a little rough, but we
Very
got through
rough
it.
seas.
Yes. Open bar, I'm on piano, not the best combo, but we got through it.
Speaking of open bar, I don't have any good segue for that, but I just thought it was a good segue, so I did it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I have a question. When was the first time you were in my house when we were jamming? What was that?
Oh, actually, now that I think about it, it might have been when you came over to our house when we were living at the band house.
Oh, on the 4th of July?
Maybe on the
And we
4th
all
of July.
jammed? Okay.
And I was just kind of like, wow, this is really cool. And very much so like, and it's one of those things where it's a very new experience for Whitney as well, where it's like, oh, this is the new normal. There's just like everybody plays. And she's enjoying it, and like, but it's such a different shift, like in the kaleidoscope. And for me, it feels like, I'm a misfit toy on Misfit Toy Island.
Yeah.
It's like, this is great. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. But I do think that if you get to experience it as well from a third party perspective, as someone who just happens to be like my girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy, fun, new, fresh experience to something else,
Yeah. That's one of the things, like where I live right now is above a studio, and we have all of our merch there, and so does Muscadine. And my
Right.
lease says I can only have 5 people at my house total. and I hate it because like I just want to have my friends around a lot.
Right.
I don't want to be like, hey, I can only invite 4 of you. Which 4 of you do I invite? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's super tough.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, Matt, 4.
Yeah, that's it. And then we have only one person that can sing and only 2 people that can play guitar. You know, well, Charlie plays guitar too. Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Hey, that's all that we need.
But yeah, but it's like I'm a community guy. I'm a collector of people, just as a human. And it's hard for me in my current living structure to like actually get to do that. It's nice sometimes because I get to have more personal experiences with the less people. But it's definitely something that I would enjoy to have a space where I could have 20 people at and everybody get to interact with each other.
100%.
Pole barn.
Yeah.
I loved like that little band house that we had when we were living before. Like, I remember we drove in, I think it was January 6th because I left on my mom's birthday, January 4th. And I think we got in either the 6th or the 7th. And I just remember like walking in and being like, okay, like I live in this town now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start it with living with my band, which was so perfect. Like you couldn't have spun it any better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was when we were neighbors, but not super, super neighbors.
Yeah. Close enough. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm close enough.
Yeah.
Oh, those girls moved out from next door? Hell yeah, moving in there.
Yeah.
It worked out so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, moving to Nashville absolutely changed my life, for sure. I mean, like, before I moved here, I was living in Boston, and I was working in a restaurant, and I was teaching guitar lessons, and I was playing weddings. And I had some friends down here that were, like...
Do this.
They were, like, doing cool shit. Like, my buddy Mitch was, like, playing drums for Gary Allen, who I didn't know at the time, but I'm like, oh, he's on a tour bus. That's cool. Mm-hmm. I didn't know who Gary Allen was. I didn't know who Jason Aldean was. Miranda Lambert. I didn't know who any of these people were.
You're like, are they Metallica?
Yeah. Close enough.
John Coltrane? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I knew Doc Watson, so that got me moving down here, essentially. But, yeah, moving here just... And it's like, now look at all the cool shit I get to do. Game Genie's on now, baby.
Yeah. Kurt's one of those dudes, too, that's been here long enough and has been good enough to enough people that, like, people were like, oh, you're friends with Kurt? And I was like, yeah.
Everyone's best friend.
Yeah.
Everybody's best friend.
I also say that he is the head of the Steel Players Union.
We're making that merch. Let's go.
Yeah. And, like, the band guy head, you know? Like,
yeah.
Definitely the band guys.
It's super funny. I remember I was overhearing someone talk about Kurt, and they were like, oh, I hope I didn't make Kurt mad when I did this. I'm like, Kurt's the guy that nobody wants to be mad at him because he knows everyone else.
Yeah, but the key to Kurt is to also be real with him.
Yeah.
That's what he likes.
I like established boundaries. That's where I flourish best.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love
I
you,
love
Kurt.
you. Love you all.
You're
love
the best neighbor I have currently. Hey, I love you guys.
What else? Anything else that's going on in your world? So family stuff we talked about. We talked about Whit a little bit. We love you, Whitney.
Yeah, we touched on tour.
Yeah, we touched on the tour. We talked about the robots, the record.
Robot record.
Yep. The patriarchy. We talked about that.
Illuminati.
The Illuminati.
Yeah.
Stuff that we probably should have only talked about when we're high.
No, dude, it's fine. It's actually better and more concise
when we're not.
This way.
Yeah.
It's more of a thought.
Far superior.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk about you a smidge. And yeah, I have talked to people about you because you are someone that I think understands this thing better than a lot of people do. And I think that is going to be a great superpower for you in the long run of this world. I think that if you decided that you wanted to, that you could probably have your own record label.
You could be a suit for sure.
Yep. You
suit.
You have the mentality and the thoughtfulness to be able to live in that world, which I think is one of the things that you'll see in a lot of artists that makes it not work, is not having that.
Right.
So I just want to congratulate you on that. I know you're just you, but I think it's super cool to get to be around you enough to pick up on that. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are like that, but you're one of the few people that I've seen it at that level with that I've gotten to interact with. So
Thank you, man. That means a lot. I mean,
absolutely.
what do you say to that?
And your songs are good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and your music's great.
Well, for me, man, I will say this. I mean, I'm very thankful that I know, and I've gotten to know the business the way that I do. And we've had a couple of conversations about eventually, I've heard that, oh yeah, like you could be a suit, bullshit thing like that.
Yeah.
But my thing is, I couldn't, because if I ran a record label, we would make no money.
Yeah. I say that too
because I couldn't do it. I couldn't actively, because I've been through it, I couldn't take, I would only give, and we'd make no money, but I could make people, better and run my company in the ground, which I'm down to do. But I
think
people
I think
up.
you were smart enough to figure out a way where you could do it, though. I really do.
The people also, I will say this, the best way, in my personal opinion, to run a music business is to make sure that you can afford to do things that you need to do, but don't focus on making money.
Yeah.
Because most of your expenses are actually going to come from paying people.
Yep.
Which is exactly what you want. And you want to pay people well. And if you're running the business, when you get a payday, trust me, it's going to be awesome.
Yep.
You don't need to spend very much money as a person, because you just simply, you have so many resources. Your band guys or your TM or your PM or your front of house, typically their resource is you. And I have 30 people that I can reach out to try to free up some funds somewhere if I need something. I mean, hell, I could call Cappy tomorrow, and if I needed money, he would help me out, and I have to pay him back, obviously. But I have resources. The band guys have me. The TM has me. You're running the business. You have to write the bills, and you have to be, you have to use your benefits that you get for good. You cannot use them for greed and evil.
All right. I'm voting for Colby Acuff for president.
Let's go. I'm running against Ernest for mayor of Nashville.
Oh, man, that would be a riot, man.
Well, Colby, I am super thankful to have you in my life, man. Ever since the first times we've chatted, I've been thankful to know you, man.
You brought me here. I love you, man.
Yeah.
I love you guys a lot.
You can thank Heather. She's like, have you heard this Colby Acuff kid?
That's true, but I mean, you called me.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said, man. It's hard to think that it's kind of been such a short amount of time, and a lot has happened, but that just means that, it's all because of the networking. There is nothing that I didn't really do that much. I made a lot of really good friends, and that was kind of a big part of what I did. And besides that, we just showed up.
Yeah. And be great.
Well,
don't forget that part.
I'll put it on the band, guys. Yeah. They're pretty good.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, thank you for coming on and spending the day with us.
Podcast.
Hey, I appreciate you guys.
I'm switching the
Rowdy,
podcast voice now.
Colby Acuff, Pod 2.
Pod 3, theoretically. Part 2.
Part
Podcast
2.
2. Part 2. Part 3.
2.2.
Yes, Skynet.
3.1.6.
Skynet 2.
/ pi.
All right, buddy. I love you, man. Thanks for coming on here.
Colby, you guys.
You're the best. Kurt, you're the best. Charlie,
Thanks.
you're the best.
Yeah, Charlie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys in the front row at Pittsburgh for the Colby Acuff 49 Winchester show, or whenever he does an album release show. We love you.
Any show. There's plenty of shows. Go to colbyacuff.com to get all the tickets for all the shows forever. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.